Hello everybody, Cable Sports Guy here again today, and we are here to make our predictions for Week 18 and break down all playoff scenarios for what has now become a very hectic and chaotic Week 18. Before we go into breaking down the playoff scenarios, in a light of good news, Damar Hamlin, as of time of recording this, did have his breathing tube removed last night and is breathing and talking to his teammates and doctors on his own again. It's very great to hear that. I'm very glad to hear he is doing okay. And hopefully we can see him getting out of the hospital soon and returning back to his self before that game as they want him to. Now, does he ever play football again? We don't know that, but it's good that he's here with us still, and we're all should be very thankful for that. But now, with all that said, let us dive into the insane Week 18 playoff scenarios. If you guys haven't already heard, Bills-Bengals has been completely canned. So due to that, the Bills sit at 12-3 and the Bengals sit at 11-4 going into this week's contest. Now, because of everything, the NFL has decided the Bengals have won the AFC North no matter what. The Ravens cannot win it. The Bengals cannot lose it no matter what happens now. The Bengals have won the AFC North. They, at one point, were talking about maybe a coin toss pending the winner. But that was only if each team was going to meet up in the wild card. Bengals have clinched the AFC North. So Bengals are in. No matter what happens, the Bengals have won the AFC North. Now, because of everything, they have made the number one seed excruciatingly confusing. So, I was able to get a spreadsheet corrected and make sure everything was correct on it. So here is what we're looking at when it comes to everything, because they talked about neutral sites. So I want to run you guys through every single possibility based off winners of this week, and let's see what we got. So here, if you look at the spreadsheet right here, we have all the games listed that make sense for the one seed. KC at Las Vegas, New England at Buffalo, and Baltimore at Cincinnati. And here's how everything would fall out. In one scenario, if KC, Buffalo, and Baltimore win, KC would get the 1, Buffalo gets the 2, Cincinnati gets the 3, and then the AFC Championship game would be played at a neutral site. And that scenario, if Cincinnati versus KC was the AFC Championship game, KC would be, and the game would be in Kansas City. That's how that works. If it is played between Buffalo and Cincinnati, I could be incorrect on this, but I'm pretty sure no matter what, it would be played at a neutral site in that scenario if it was Cincinnati versus Buffalo, or they would go to a coin toss, but I'm pretty sure they have said it's neutral site. If I'm incorrect on that, please correct me in the comments down below. In the second scenario, if KC wins, Buffalo wins, and Cincinnati wins, same exact thing, neutral site, KC. If KC, New England, and Baltimore win, same exact thing. However, the AFC Championship game would be played in KC no matter what, saying that everything went to plan. If KC, New England, and Cincinnati won this week, KC would get the 1, Cincinnati would hop to the 2, and Buffalo would fall to the 3. KC would have the AFC Championship game, the AFC would run through Kansas City. If Las Vegas, Buffalo, and Baltimore won, Buffalo jumps to the 1, KC falls to the 2, and Cincinnati falls to the 3, in which Buffalo, if they played Kansas City, would be in Buffalo. KC would have the game against Cincinnati. If Las Vegas, Buffalo, and Cincinnati won, Buffalo, KC, Cincinnati. Cincinnati cannot move past KC. If Las Vegas, New England, Baltimore won, everything stays the same, neutral site. If Las Vegas, New England, and Cincinnati won, KC stays at the 1, Cincinnati jumps up to the 2, Buffalo falls to the 3, and then no matter what, it would be a neutral site game. So, if you're still a little confused, pause the video, look at this, and that explains all the 1 seed. Pretty much what this is going to say, though, is the only way the Bills can get a 1 seed is if they win and KC loses, and KC gets a 1 seed with a win, and that's it. That's as simple as that. And KC can also clinch a 1 seed with a Buffalo loss. Buffalo has to have Kansas City lose no matter what. Cincinnati, unfortunately, cannot move to the number 1 seed. Very unfortunate, but they have won the AFC North for the second straight year now. Wait, is it the second straight year? Pretty sure. Yeah, it is. I think. Yeah, it is. I'm not crazy. Maybe. Okay, now, let's go to the other clinching scenarios this week. Let's start with the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots are really simple. Win and you're in. However, they could also get in if they were to lose with a Dolphins loss, a Steelers loss, and a Titans loss. So if the Titans, Steelers, and Dolphins all lost, and New England lost, New England makes the playoff still, or just as simple as that, if New England wins, they are into the playoffs. For the Miami Dolphins, their only way in is with a win over the Jets and a Patriots loss. That's their only way in. No other thing can change that. They have to win and hope the Patriots lose. For the Jaguars, they can clinch the AFC South with a win over the Titans, or they still could clinch a wild card spot with a loss for the Steelers, the Patriots, and the Dolphins. If they were to lose to Tennessee due to certain tiebreakers, the Jaguars would make the 7th seed if the Patriots, Dolphins, and Steelers all lost. For the Steelers, they clinch a wild card berth with a win, a Patriots loss, and a Dolphins loss. Simple for the Steelers. There's only one way in. They have to have the two teams above them lose. And then for the Titans, the last team in the AFC, their only way in is with a win over the Jaguars. If they lose against the Jaguars, they are out of the playoffs. They cannot make it through the wild card. So, now we've covered the insanity that is the AFC. Let's hop over to the NFC now. The Philadelphia Eagles, they are really simple this week. They clinched the NFC East and the number 1 seed with a win over the Giants. They clinched the AFC East as well if the Cowboys lose, or they can still clinch the number 1 seed if the Niners lose. So pretty much Eagles have to win to clinch everything, or if the Niners and Cowboys lose, they also clinch. If the Eagles were to lose this week against the Giants. For the 49ers, their only thing they can do is clinch the number 1 seed with a win over the Cardinals and an Eagles loss. For the Cowboys, they can clinch the NFC East with a win over the Commanders and an Eagles loss. However, they could also clinch the 1 seed with a win over the Commanders, an Eagles loss to the Giants, and a 49ers loss to the Cardinals. So the Cowboys could still be your 1 seed by the end of this week if certain things fell into place. The Detroit Lions, they are very simple. They have to clinch with a win over the Packers and a Seahawks loss. The Seahawks have to clinch with a win over the Rams and a Packers loss. And then the Packers have the most simple scenario, and that is clinching a wild card berth with a win. If they beat Detroit, doesn't matter what happens in the Seattle game, the Packers do go to the wild card. So the Packers control their own destiny in that scenario. So, with that all in mind, let's go to our predictions, what I feel like will happen in every single game, and how I think we will look at the playoffs in the outcome of this week. So, let's start with Raiders versus Chiefs. So, in this one, this is a very big game in my opinion. Both teams are very solid. Jarrett Stidham looked really good last week. However, while the Chiefs did concern me, I feel like they know they're fighting for a 1 seed still. Whether or not they're playing on a neutral site is yet to be determined, obviously, pending how everything goes this week. However, I do think Kansas City will take care of business and beat Las Vegas. I would honestly be shocked if they didn't. I feel like the Raiders are under turmoil right now, and I feel like the Chiefs will be able to get in. Titans versus Jaguars. Winner for the AFC South right here. Titans are starting Josh Dobbs as their starting quarterback this week. Derrick Henry is back. He has practice this week. He is off the injured list. However, I am going to go with Jacksonville to win this game still. They have been playing so good these past 2 weeks, and I do think they can handle Tennessee. It's in Duval. I think Lawrence and the Jaguars are ready. They will make the playoffs. Browns Steelers. Jadeveon Clowney, if you have not heard, told Cleveland reporters that he's 95% positive he will not be returning to the Browns, so the Browns sent him home early. He's done in Cleveland. Jadeveon Clowney will not be part of this game. And Pittsburgh's defense has been phenomenal. They're fighting for a playoff spot, and I do think they are going to get the win over the Browns. Browns fans, look forward to next season because I think you guys have a team that can go do some things next season with a full season of Deshaun Watson and adding some pieces here and there. But Steelers time to shine. I think the Steelers do get a win here. Ravens versus the Bengals. Lamar Jackson did not practice again today. He probably will not be available for this game on Sunday. Tyler Huntley will more than likely be the starting quarterback, and I think the Bengals will just will get this win. I think the Bengals will fly high and get a win. They much deserve. And I think they take care of the Ravens in this one. Huntley and the Ravens offense still looks not that good, and Huntley really has struggled passing the ball. We saw that very evident against the Steelers on Sunday Night Football this past week. Patriots versus the Bills. This is a huge game for both teams, and my biased and fan view really wants to pick New England here, but it is in Buffalo. And while the Patriots defense has been extremely good, and as much as I want to see us in the playoffs, I do think the Bills are going to pull through and get a victory here. Buffalo, they have been one of the hottest teams, and I feel like they're going to rally behind this and be there for their teammates. And, I know Damar Hamlin, who's in the hospital right now, I know he's telling all of them, hey, go out there this week, go win it for me. And I think Buffalo will take care of business this week, and I think Buffalo does beat New England and officially knock the Patriots out of the playoffs with the Steelers win, obviously. Texans versus the Colts, a game that does not really matter too much. And, this is pretty much a tank bowl right here, because Colts are just trying to get as low of a pick as they can. So are the Texans. Neither team really wants to win this game, I can promise you that. And I do think the Texans are going to win. I think the Texans have been playing a lot better these past few weeks, in my personal opinion. I do think the Texans will beat the Colts, and that can make the number one pick in the draft a little bit more interesting. Jets versus the Dolphins. Big game right here. Miami has already confirmed they will be without Tua this week. However, their defense is still there. Teddy Bridgewater is listed as a starter at the moment, with Skylar Thompson being the backup. And I am going to go with Miami to hang on and go to the playoffs this year. I think the Dolphins can hopefully resurrect their season. I'm hoping Tua is ready by the time we hit wild card week, and I'm hoping the Dolphins are 100%. I think the Dolphins do beat New York and go to the playoffs. Chargers versus the Broncos. I'm going to be really blunt with this. I think the Chargers will win this football game. Chargers are ready. They're ready to go. They're ready for the playoffs. They're finally healthy. Joey Bosa, I don't think he plays this week against Denver. I think they're going to give him another week to rest before the wild card, but the Chargers are finally getting healthy. They're ready to go. And while the Broncos did impress me last week against Kansas City, it's not going to be anything huge. Look forward to the offseason Denver. Figure out your coaching situation. Obviously, you already found Nathaniel Hackett. And good luck to Denver this next season. Vikings versus the Bears. Big game here. Vikings can only move up to the 2 seed if the Niners lose to Arizona. And no Justin Fields. Nathan Peterman will be the starting quarterback for the Bears this week. So I think the Vikings do make a diligent effort and do get a win. Panthers versus the Saints. A big game right here when it comes to draft picks, that is. And in this one, I am going to go with Carolina to get a win. This game could have been a lot bigger if Carolina beat Tampa Bay last week, but they didn't. So with that scenario, I think Carolina does get the win still against New Orleans. New Orleans, they got to figure out so much this offseason with everything. I didn't agree with starting Andy Dalton over Jameis Winston all year. I think Winston was better for their offense than Dalton was. And obviously, Michael Thomas being out again all season with injury did not help New Orleans at all. Tampa Bay versus Atlanta. Tampa Bay already won the division last week. But their offense finally came to life last week with Tom Brady and Mike Evans connecting for 3 touchdowns last week in an insane performance by both of them. I do think the Buccaneers take down Atlanta right here, move to 9-8. Just give themselves a little bit more of a stride as they prepare for their wild card game against whoever they do play. Cardinals versus the 49ers. Brock Purdy continues to be undefeated. He's 4-0 now, as we went over after their win against the Raiders, which should have been not as close as it was, but it was really close. However, I think the Niners will easily take down Arizona this week. The Cardinals, my little recap for them, they did not live up to expectations. Cliff Kingsbury, unfortunately, does not seem like he's the answer at all. And honestly, you got to make some decisions. I don't know when Kyler Murray is going to be back for them next year. I wouldn't be shocked if he isn't ready by the start of the season. So, could be losing a lot of players. J.J. Watt's obviously going to retirement. So Cardinals, you guys have a lot of question marks going into this offseason after a terrible and honestly disappointing season this year. Rams versus the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks need a win if they want to stay their hopes in the wild card. If they win, it makes Detroit versus Green Bay really simple. Green Bay wins, they're in. Detroit cannot make it no matter what. And I think the Rams are quite honestly awful. They're going into Seattle. I think the Seahawks will take care of business. I think Ken Walker will get going. Geno Smith has been playing really good. And all eyes will be on Lions-Packers. It will officially eliminate the Lions from the playoffs. Unfortunate for Dan Campbell's crew in Detroit. New York versus Philadelphia. This is a very interesting game, but saying that New York's already clinched a playoff spot. I haven't heard anything officially, obviously, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Giants don't go as hard or maybe bench some players to avoid injury. However, Hurts might be back. He might not be back. I would be shocked if he wasn't back, but I am going to go with the Eagles to win this game and keep the NFC East and keep the 1 seed and go into the playoffs with that. Cowboys versus Commanders. This is a very interesting game right here. Both teams have been playing really good throughout this whole season. The biggest problem for the Commanders has been their quarterback spot. And Heineke looked good for a few weeks, and he didn't look good. Then they started to replace him with Carson Wentz in a game that, honestly, if they had lost, they were pretty much out. And they lost it against Cleveland, which I think if Heineke plays, could have been a very winnable game. The Commanders shot themselves in the foot, and I think the Cowboys do beat the Commanders this week. And then the big game, Sunday Night Football between the Lions and the Packers. And, you know, as much as it hates me to say it, I do think Rodgers is going to run himself back into the playoffs and make this playoffs just that much more interesting, because why not? The Packers have been absolutely on fire these past few weeks. Rodgers finally looks like he's ready to show up and play football. And while I like the Lions, I think the Packers are here and they're ready to go, and I don't think anything's standing in their way. So the Packers will go to the playoffs. So, with that all said, and that all put into place, this is how I think this week will play out, and this is how I think the playoffs will be sitting. With the Chiefs at the 1, the Bills at the 2, Bengals at the 3, the Jaguars at the 4, Chargers at the 5, Ravens at the 6, and the Dolphins getting the final spot in the AFC at number 7. In the NFC, the Eagles will stay at the 1, Niners stay at the 2, Vikings stay at the 3, Bucks stay at the 4, Cowboys stay at the 5, Giants stay at the 6, obviously, and then the Packers do clinch the final spot after what was looking like a horrendous season for Green Bay. Definitely not the season they expected, but they do still make the playoffs, and they get a wild card spot. So that'll set it for a very interesting wildcard weekend. Obviously, I could be 100% correct here, or I could be 100% incorrect, and everything can go to absolute chaos like it has a majority of this season. So expect the unexpected here in Week 18 of the NFL season. I'll be back here on this channel on Tuesday to recap all of Week 18 and to give you guys an outlook of wildcard weekend. I've been Caleb the Sports Guy. I appreciate everybody being here with me today, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.